I muted myself just to start, but we are live. Hi, everybody. This is Aaron from Teachable. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we have a very, very fun workshop with Roman Klco on learning 3D design and joining the digital revolution. We're going to get started in just a few moments. Before we get started, we just want to make sure all the technical things work before I hand it over to Roman. What I would love for the folks who I know are already in the chat with us today is, can you let us know you can see us, let us know you can hear us. Before we hand this over to Roman, we just want to make sure everything works. We'd also love to know, where are you joining us from? Roman's in Slovakia today. I'm in Brooklyn, New York. We're vastly different time zones, so I have a feeling today's audience is going to be a bit more global. Cool, I see someone's joining us from Chicago. I see perfect. I actually want to see, say I can hear you, we can see you. I want to hear that. We want to know before we hand it. That's exactly it. We see you. That's what I want to hear. Roman, can you test a little bit? Say hello to the audience. Make sure your stuff sounds
Hey, everybody.
great.
How are you doing? Do you hear me okay?
I hear you great. Cool. I'm seeing people see us, people hear us. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us. Just to give an overview of how this is going to go, I'm going to hand it over to Roman in just a few moments. He's going to be going through his presentation. He's also going to go through a live Blender tutorial of part of what he's going to cover. We will have time for Q&A towards the end of this workshop. So as you have questions today, feel free to put them in the YouTube comments. If something's urgent, we'll bring it up during the presentation. Otherwise, we will have time at the end to kind of go through those, because I know we're going to cover quite a bit of ground over the course of this workshop. With that said, Roman, I'm going to bring your presentation up on screen. Let me get that for you. And I'm going to pop backstage. But if you're ready, let's hop right into this.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, thanks, Aaron. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the digital revolution. So I'm Roman. For those who do not know me, I'm a designer with around 15 years of experience, with emphasis on 3D design lately. And I work with clients such as Google, NVIDIA, Waze, but lately I'm focusing more on teaching and producing learning content on my social media channels and through my courses. So let's start with why. Why would you be interested in learning 3D design? Excuse me for a second. So I've chosen a little bit dramatic title, the digital revolution, but it's mostly due to two things that happened recently, and one of them is a lot of remote work lately. Last year, a lot of companies translated their work to more and more remote for obvious reasons. So there are a lot of opportunities. I myself happened to see like 2 or 3 times more inquiries last year. And apart from the obvious things like, movies, VFX, and games when it comes to 3D, because those are the things that um, maybe most of you see when you're thinking about 3D. And I get these questions a lot, like how can you actually make money with 3D? Because these large industries seems a little bit out of reach, but there is a lot of other industries that take advantage from or take advantage of 3D design. And one of them, and I want to run a little bit quickly through these kinds of opportunities. So one of them might be website illustrations. There's a lot of web content appearing daily, a lot of companies putting their business online, and all of them need some brand polishing sometimes and need to bring beautiful illustration on their websites. And 3D has been very popular delivering just that. So that's something like the most visible when it comes to 3D design, creating these beautiful hero illustrations and little 3D elements. But there is a long tail of content on the web. So, for example, if not the hero illustrations, there might be infographics that need some kind of visual representation, and 3D is really great for that. You can create all kinds of like 3D typography for the social media posts and stuff like that. And a lot of that little content that is not maybe so much visible, but it's absolutely needed, and 3D can help you there as well. And then we have like the product presentation, live 360 views and stuff like that. That's a little bit more time consuming and demanding when it comes to quality. It involves animation, but it's something that can be done if you're drawn to 3D and beautiful product presentation. 3D can definitely help you there. And then there's my favorite, which is basically the app prototypes and UI UX design prototypes, where you basically take some concept and bring it to life with 3D and animation before you actually go into production, which is very beneficial for a lot of companies who need to put a lot of people to work to actually bring you some new features. So before they actually commit, there's a lot of testing and live previews. And again, whether it's about navigation or some 3D interaction and transitions and stuff like that, 3D can be a huge help. And then the second reason why I named this presentation Digital Revolution is the popularity of NFTs lately. And I want to just bring it up here that if you're a starting aspiring designer or artist and you're presenting self out there and you're searching for work, this might be the other channel that might get you some side income. And I'm not mentioning this to like put forward some get rich schemes or anything like that, but it's actually the first time in history where you can actually sign the digital piece and sell it as a unique piece. Those who do not know, non-fungible tokens, they exist on a blockchain, so it's similar technology like Bitcoin. It lives on the Ethereum network, but there are a lot of networks popping up. So this might be the way how to sell your ideas. If you have something to say, you don't need necessarily to be um, experienced artist. If you have something to say and you can put out the nice content that delivers your message, you can make it in this space, in my opinion. So that's something to think about. So these two things, like there's a lot of remote work, a lot of opportunities, and instead of like selling hundreds and hundreds of images on stock photo sites and stuff like that, you can actually sell your unique digital pieces. So yeah, something to think about. And now I want to make this presentation mostly, or this workshop mostly, about creation. And I want to introduce you to a world of 3D and Blender, show you how I do things, show you around a little bit. And when starting with 3D, I really recommend to go simple. Grab preferably a free tool that you don't need to invest a lot in, like Blender. And even though it's free, it's like on the same level that professional other paid software is. So a lot of studios are getting on board with Blender lately. So yeah, you start simple. You start with some simple geometrics, geometric scenes and layouts, and build your skill as you go through these projects and little scenes. And the most importantly, do some personal project, have fun with it, so you're not feeling that it's a tedious work to learn something, and you're having fun from the get-go. So right now I would switch to Blender. I hope you see it all right. So yeah, this is how it looks like. And there is some default stuff in the scene when you first time fire up the Blender. So I'll just drag the selection around, press X and delete. And this is not like step-by-step follow-through tutorial, because obviously we don't have that much time. So I will go a little bit faster through some things, but I'll try to comment as much as possible so you get the most of this time. And first of all, I will start by adding a planar object, simple plane. So let's press Shift A and I will add a plane. And now I will tap into the edit mode, press S to scale, and enter 4 on my keyboard to scale this 4 times. And actually, I can bevel these corners so we have a more smooth design here. So let's press Ctrl B, then V to enable vertex beveling. And let's do a simple geometry like this. And now we can press A to select all and E to extrude. So in matter of few clicks, you already have
Roman,
some.
sorry, just one quick thing,
Yep.
because it's intermittent. I think some folks are saying you're speaking slightly quiet on their side. You sound great for me, but just want to make sure for anyone who's in the audience, because I did see a few folks mention it. Roman, I guess if you could increase the volume on your mic ever so slightly, and for any of those in the audience who have some issues, please turn the volume up and continue to let us know.
Yeah, I'll try to.
Oh wow, that's different. Whatever you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm closer, and I brought up the gain a little bit, so
it sounds
I hope
great.
this helps.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm pop backstage, but it sounds great, Roman. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Okay, so we have a simple geometry here, and now I will tab out and add a modifier. Modifiers are a great way how you can procedurally change your design without actually modifying the mesh, the points itself or themselves. So I will add the bevel modifier and actually add some segment here and modify the amount. And now let's just set up some shading here. I will enable auto smoothing normals and shade is smooth. So just like that, we went from a really sharp piece of geometry to something that has these nice soft edges without actually adding any geometry. We still have the original object in place, and we can now continue building this diorama. And what I love to do is to reuse existing geometry, so I don't have to create things from scratch. So I will tab in and go for face select by pressing 3, select this top face and press Shift D to duplicate this, right click to release and press P and enter to separate. And what I've done right now is basically created a new object. You can see it right here. And if I tab out and select that new object, it basically contains that face I've copied from the previous object, but it already has all the modifiers in place. So I can just extrude this and I have another smooth shaded object right on the top of the old one. So I can continue this way and create one more. I want to create a little house here, like a modern house structure, and then I want to put a grass next to it. So let's create that grass patch right now, and I will do this once again, duplicate, and separate. And now I will go to the top view, the orthographic view, press K. That's a knife tool. And that's a tool that helps you to quickly cut through geometry like this. And then we can just delete these other vertices and extrude our existing geometry. And we can now bevel these vertices as well. So I will go to the edge select these edges, and just like that. And right now I want to extrude that house here in the middle. So I will press Shift and right click here to create a house. So we'll start the plane again. So let's press Shift A and add a plane, and I will tap into it and rescale it slightly and then bring it up like this. So this will be base for our house. And before I start beveling some corners, I want to bring a little bit more geometry in, and I can press Ctrl R to add loops and use my mouse wheel to add more loops in place, just like this. So you basically slice your geometry, and now we can select these side edges just like that and press Ctrl B to bevel. Okay, and now I want to kind of extrude the windows and the doors inside. So I will need more geometry on the vertical axis as well. So I will press Ctrl R and create a cut here in the middle and right click to release so it stays in the middle. And now we can create two more cuts at the top and at the bottom, and Alt Shift click to select and Ctrl B to bevel again. And I will reduce the bevel amount to 1. So this way I can just create an uniform geometry like this in the middle. And right now we can just select some of this geometry and extrude it inside. So I will go back to the face select and just select the part where I want the door to be. Maybe something like this will be enough. and then we'll select this part right here. I can use Control to select a whole part of the loop, and then we can select this part as well. And I'll press Alt E and extrude faces along normals, and I can press S to make this even so there's no distortion in place, and push this inside like that. Okay, so we have some simple geometry, some like modern house icon or something. So we can easily make this smooth. I will just shift click the original plane and press Ctrl L to link, and I will link modifiers. So this will transfer the modifiers from this object to our new object, and I will just enable that auto smooth once again, right click and shade smooth. So you can really see how easy it is to create geometry with Blender. And I know I use a lot of shortcuts, and it might look messy, but this is something that I focus on my courses as well, where you build your muscle memory with these shortcuts step by step as you go through the projects and actually have fun with them. And by the end of these lessons, you are pretty fluent by using these shortcuts as well, as they become your second nature. So that's just something to keep in mind, that I use a lot of shortcuts because it makes this process much easier and faster. So I will tab in now, and I will create some kind of roof here so that we can add some more visual interest to this, that is not so flat. Okay, something like this. And now I'll proceed and create some tree here to make this a little bit more interesting, because we have a lot of empty space here. So I will just press Shift A and add a single vert. If you don't have this feature here, it's extra objects add-on that you can activate in the preferences. Now I will switch to the vertex select. That's very important with this one. And look from the front by pressing 1 on a numpad, and I will press E to extrude, and extrude some kind of tree shape. Very simple and easy, stylized tree, nothing too fancy. And now we can use the power of modifier once again, because right now we have just a simple vertex structure. But if we go to the modifiers and use a skin modifier, one of my favorites, we actually add the geometry to the structure, and we are able to move these points around to change. And this can be used to make anything from animals to like some complex structures. So I really love this modifier. And now we can scale it by selecting all, by pressing A and pressing Ctrl A to scale the radius of these vertices. And now we can select just the top ones and scale those down, and the middle one as well. So this way we kind of adjust the radius for the tree structure, and we can further modify it with modifiers. So let's add another modifier, and this will be the subdivision surface that will smoothen out the surface and create whole another look. And right down here it's rounded, so I will need to extrude this vertex down there. So let's press E and extrude this down, and we can even scale it a little bit, just like that. And now if I tap out of this object and right click and shade smooth, or rather we have to do this on the skin modifier, sorry, I forgot that one. So we have nice smooth object that's made out of few vertices that you are still able to move around. So yeah, really funny thing how to use these modifiers. And now I want to add a crown, but I don't want to use like realistic trees or something, because this is very stylized work. You can see there's a lot of geometry going on. So I want to keep that. So I will just shift right click here and add the cube. I will scale this down, and I will make this tree out of cubes, but I want to smooth them out a little bit. So I will again just shift click the original object, press Ctrl L, and link the modifiers. So we have a nice rounded cube here in place, and I will shade it smooth and enable that auto smooth again. And right now I want to rotate this a little bit. So I'll press R twice. That will enable this nice trackball rotation. And I can use Alt D to create duplicates that are linked. And basically, when we place all of the cubes and we change our mind about something, you can always go inside and edit all of them, then all of them at once, because they're basically linked duplicates. So really great way how to reuse the existing geometry and save time. So I will just duplicate some of these cubes around, just like that. Only thing that doesn't get transferred on these link duplicates, and that's why I linked the modifier before, because the modifiers don't get transferred. So this is something we have to do manually if we change our mind. But if we just want to change some parameter, luckily we can just select all. I will deselect 3, and we can go to the modifier settings and hold Alt key to change the settings for all of them at once, and we can hold Shift to make smaller increments like this. And I would really like to keep them angular like that. I think it adds to the style of this illustration. It's a little bit interesting style of tree, I hope. So I will probably just align this a little bit more. And now we can select all of them. And with the tree as active object, I can just parent them. So right now, if I decide to make tree larger, I'm scaling it all. And I'll move it in place a little bit more and add one more level of subdivision to the tree as well. And now to suggest that there is a grass or something here, we can add some geometry there as well. So I will add some circle here and reduce the number of segments to 12. That should be enough. And just scale this down. Press F to fill and extrude like this and make bevel. And I can shift this down a little bit. And now if I tab out shade is smooth, I can use Alt D and R twice to rotate the link duplicate like this around, and now Alt D RZ to rotate around the Z axis only, and once again this, and then I can individually scale some of these objects around. And if I'm satisfied with these and I don't want to keep all of these objects, I can just select all of them with the center one as last and just press Ctrl J to join them in one object. And now we can enable face snapping and just move things around. And by holding Control, we can snap it to surface, press S to scale. So I will just
Roman, before you plant the rest of the grass, you are starting to clip a little bit before, and I wanted to catch it before you plant the rest of the grass.
Clip like a sound?
Yeah. Like now that you're speaking a little louder, it's
too much,
it's
right?
popping. Yeah, it's popping on the highs.
Okay, sorry for that.
No worries. Let's test it out.
On the sweet spot.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, we'll get there.
Better?
Thus far, so, give me a few words and.
Okay. Is this better? Right
yes,
now?
Sir. It sounds great.
Okay.
And if anything comes up, I'll pop back in. Thank you, Roman.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so let's plant the rest of the tree, or rather grass. So let's press Alt D, and by holding Control, we can move things around. And yeah, I think this will be enough. So let's create some composition out of this, and we'll need a camera for that. We have our objects ready, but to be able to render, of course, we'll need some.
Romans still have a little bit of the clipping. Sorry about that.
Okay, I'll move it. I'll move it a little bit further away, like this.
Cool.
Okay. Let's set it up. Okay. Where I was. Yeah, the camera view. So I use an add-on for that. The great add-on that I found didn't work with Blender 2.8, so I updated it, and it's called the ISOCAM. And yeah, we can just pick like maybe through ISOCAM, which is 4:3 ratio isometric camera, and we can adjust the output proportions for the render just like this. And we have our simple composition. Now I will reset the cursor to world origin and add the plane.
Sorry, Roman, I don't want to throw your flow off. I apologize to hop back in. Yeah, we're still getting the clipping. Let's give it a second. We'll get it right. Give us a few seconds, folks. We'll get through these technical difficulties, but I want to get it right because I know you're covering wonderful stuff. Let's test it out because every few seconds it comes back in.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I'm basically on the same level, I think, like before. Is this maybe better?
Give us a sentence, a sentence or two.
Yeah, I'm giving you a sentence or two.
So far, so good. I'll pop back out if it's a thing. Thank you, Roman, for your patience.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so I've added a plane that will serve as a background. So one last thing, I think there's a little bit of an empty space here. So I want to create some kind of a fire hydrant there. So I will shift right click to add a cursor there. I'll press shift A, add a mesh, circle, and just scale, tab in and just scale it down. Fill, and then we can just press E to extrude, I to inset, and E to extrude again. So you can see how really simple it is to create a new geometry with Blender. I will just bevel the top. So far this should be enough, but I want like a little piece of geometry popping out of there. So let's create a new loop there, and I can bevel this with two segments, just like that. And there's an add-on called Loop Tools. You can just activate it in the preferences. You don't need to download anything, and just right click, find the Loop Tools, and use the circle command that will basically create that circular geometry for you. And just press E and extrude. And now I can press X, delete these faces, and cover them with new face and bevel the end. So something like this should work. And now I can tab out and press Ctrl 2 for subdivision modifier, right click shade smooth. And now we can just add some of these more loops. This works similarly to basically the curves in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever else. This kind of behaves as a Bezier curves. So just like that, we created a new piece of geometry just from a circle. And right now I want to proceed and add some color to this. So first of all, let me select the background, create a new material, and I will assign some blue, darker blue color. We'll see how that works later. And now I'll select the ground object, and let's create some brownish color maybe, and nice fresh green color here. So something like this, or rather this should be pavement, I think. So let's bring down the value and saturation and bring, or rather hue, and bring up the value just like that. And maybe we can add a little bit of blue there. And right here we can create that fresh green color and add it to our tree as well. And we can use the same brown that we used on the ground on the tree. Doesn't really matter. And now we can create the white color for the house. And now we can just click the plus to create a new material slot, create a new material. Let's bring the color down to black and roughness all the way to 0, so it will be reflective. And now I'll just tab in, go to the face select, and select these inset faces. And with them selected, we just select this material here, click assign, and we have new material there. And we can select the top faces as well, like that, and maybe add some of that background material there. So we have a little bit of contrast. Okay, maybe this is too empty still, so we can just add cursor here, create a new plane, fill it up, and we can create few cuts with Control R and bevel these corners like before. Now select all, extrude, and now we'll select some of these faces, and I will choose inset command here with I, but I will tap it twice, so we are insetting individually, and just extrude. This will be some kind of solar panel or something, and I can press Ctrl plus to expand the selection. And first I will add some default material, and then we can add some solar panel material that will be like a darker blue color and a little bit more reflective maybe. Okay, something like this, and some gray color for the panels. This should work. And we can take all of this and push it on the x-axis a little bit. So we have the origin point there. Now it's really easy to put it back in place. Press RX or RY and tilt it however you want. And let's create some red color here for the fire hydrant, and one last object right here. So now we have some materials in place, and we want to create some lighting, because the 3D scene without the lighting is really bleak. So first of all, I will add a light and a sunlight because this will be a day scene. So I'll bring this up, switch to the 3D cursor, manipulation, and press R, X 30 degrees. So we are rotating around the cursor 30 degrees, and now R Z45 minus. So we go that way, and let's enable these lights actually here in the render preview, and we can go ahead and change the properties of this light. So I will ramp it up to something like 3 and change the color a little bit, just like this. And now this looks fine, but I like to give a little bit more light to the scene, especially when it's NPR, when it's not physically based, when it's stylized illustration like this. You don't really have to create some ultra realistic light. You can have fun with it. So you can maybe create an area light, make it a little bit larger, and give it some more strength, maybe even 500. Let's see what works. Or let's try maybe 1500. And I will rotate this 45 degrees and 45 degrees this way. So if I hide this, you can see how bleak it is. And now we added the nice backlight that creates all of this nice reflections and stuff like that. And we can even modify the color a little bit to give the scene a little bit of ambience. So we are kind of simulating how the world behaves, where you have different colors um, going from multiple sides on your object. And now we can go to the world settings and add some world ambience, so we can actually add some basic light to the scene. And this is the step that can really make your lighting pop up. It will add those beautiful midtones and nice blue shadows to your scene. So definitely, if you're fighting with your lighting, maybe play with these world settings and bring it up a little bit to fill your scene with a little bit of that ambient light. And now I'll just duplicate this light right here, bring it maybe a little bit lower and further away to create this nice reflection on the side. So we have some difference there with those lights. And basically we are almost done. Maybe it's worth to go and check out the color management section. You can choose some different contrast look and play with the exposure to bring your scene to life a little bit more. And maybe let's put more violet into the background. And I will now press Ctrl B and limit the render preview. And if you want a nicer EV preview, because right now we are in the real-time rendering mode, you can enable things like ambient occlusion and screen space reflections, which will really make your EV preview more beautiful. But if you want really beautiful result, you switch to cycles. And I have already set up some of these preferences here, but mostly it's all about the samples and the render denoising. These are the most important two options. And right now we can choose the render preview. And basically this is our illustration that we have done in about, I think it was like 20 minutes or something. So yeah, that was a little demo presentation on how you can utilize Blender to create illustration. You can imagine this working on some kind of website as a hero illustration, or in some kind of article or something like that. So I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope this wasn't like too fast to not to enjoy it. I've tried to comment on every shortcut and everything I do, but there was a limit on the time. So this is the illustration, and I think I got pretty close to the one that I've prepared. So yeah, that's Blender for you. And maybe I can talk about now. Maybe I can now talk about a little bit how it helped me to get ahead in the things I do. In the beginning, I kind of challenged myself. I was doing my daily design job, and I challenged myself to create every day. So I created 3D content every day and put it online. First of all, I got an audience feedback that helped me to grow. So I got not only praise, but I got critical feedback as well. So that helped me to grow. And over the course of the 6 months, it made um, the 3D design and the things I've been doing a habit. So it was really easy to me to then start creating content for courses, because there were a lot of people that were asking in the comments like how I did that stuff and this stuff. And after a time, I realized that it would be nice to actually record some sessions and put it online. I've done some demo sessions and created the landing page, and it kind of led to creation of the course and gave me the professional freedom. It didn't take more than a year for me to actually transition to like full-time content creator, and leave my day job. So it gave me that professional freedom where I can basically take these 3D skills and either create content for you guys, create teach these tools and create content for YouTube and create courses, or I can focus more on my like freelance career, or I can publish to marketplaces or create maybe more like artistic stuff, create NFTs and stuff. It doesn't really matter, and doesn't really matter what you will choose if you decide to get into 3D. There are a lot of opportunities, as I said before, but starting slow at the beginning, starting simple, and growing up these skills day by day by putting out a lot of content can really boost your creativity, at least first few months. Then you can decide whether you want to slow down and maybe create um, more complex stuff and take a week or 2 weeks for a project. Really depends on a type of creator you are. So, and after some time, I got some student stories that I want to share with you. We have a group for all the course attendees, um, and basically a lot of them transitioned their careers as well. And it didn't take more than a few months for them. For example, Rayo is a designer from Estonia. He was one of the first joining the course, and basically now his whole career has changed. He was UI UX designer. Now he does 50% of time, maybe more, of 3D, and is he was several times promoted, um, due to his experience and proficiency with 3D and how he's helping to shape the brand of the company he's working for. So yeah, it was a huge career turnaround for him. And the works you can see here, basically, I haven't updated this one. So these are all the works, and he started to create them like 1, 2, or 3 months tops. Actually, this one is one of the first he shared after going through the course. So this really worked out for him fine. And there are a lot more in the group that have similar stories, like it helped them to maybe land a different job or maybe to turn their career around completely. In the end, really, it depends on how committed you are, how much work you put in. I'm not saying the courses will get you somewhere, because it's in the end it's you that need to get to somewhere. But by going step by step, learning these skills and applying them, and most of all sharing them with the world day by day, even if you think they're not much, believe me, there are people who will like them. I'm pretty sure. So you can basically start away if you want and join our group. Um, the course I was mentioning is called Become a 3D Illustrator, and it's more than 20 hours of content. And you start from really simple illustration, the sushi episode you can see right here, and build your skills as you go through these dioramas. There are basically 5 basic episodes, and they grow in experience basically and in style as well. So not only you gain new knowledge as you go through them, but you get different style that you can utilize in your design workflow. So when you go through it, you already have like 3 or 4 different styles that you can apply in your work. There are some bonus chapters, some asset packs. The best thing probably is the access to the private group I was mentioning. We are a very live group, even though small, but there is always someone willing to help, or just chat about art, about design, about technology, whatever. So really vibrant group. I really like spending time there. And yeah, so you can enroll today. We have prepared special workshop discount with Teachable. You can use the Discover coupon code in the checkout, or you can use the link that's directly here somewhere, I think, in the webinar window. So, yeah, that's basically from my side everything. I'm really glad I was able to make it through the tutorial on time. So, um, yeah, that's it. And I would like to encourage you to ask me questions if you have some, if you're interested to hear something
Roman, thank
right
you
now.
so much. I appreciated you going through that. I mean, for context for folks in the audience, the when you talk about folks paying for illustrations and hiring these types of things, I mean, even at Teachable, we commission illustration, and some of my past projects, the same piece. So like this is a skill that we do pay for and we do need. Um, I actually had some folks. If you have some questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I also just put the link to Roman's course that he just mentioned in the chat as well. It's also in the YouTube description. One question I had for you that you didn't really cover today, but I would just love to hear your vantage point as a course creator and an expert in this field is, if you're just starting out is moving into the illustration and design space, like, can you talk a bit about what marketplaces, what things do you recommend for someone just kind of getting started on the freelance side of that? Because I think it could be pretty noisy and overwhelming.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's always good to pick like a good platform for you to publish. I've started it on Dribble as it was natural for me as a designer to go there. I already had a profile. There are a lot of designers and a lot of illustrators there. And it's a great place if you're looking for freelance or job opportunities. So yeah, definitely, if you're interested in like starting a freelance business, serving clients, or even finding a full-time job, you can just try Dribble, and publish day by day, get better with every post. And probably after some time you will get inquiries from people who are interested in the type of work that you do. That's the important thing. If you focus your work not just only about around 3D, but around some topic, or you develop some particular style, like I was doing a lot of vehicles and stuff like that, and I've ended up working with ways on their navigation 3D elements. So they will search you for the work you do and hire you for the work you do. So you get to pick basically what you enjoy the most. If you put up 100 pieces of content, they will find you for that content and probably hire you for that content. The other places worth mentioning is, of course, Instagram. It's huge. There are a lot of opportunities there. Maybe not that great for like freelance opportunities, but great for gaining like the general audience if you want maybe sell stuff on marketplaces, sell assets or illustrations or stuff like that. So for gathering audience, I really recommend Instagram. um, that's the most major that comes to mind. It's really harder on other sites, maybe like TikTok and stuff, because it really depends on the content you do. But for purely graphical content, there are a lot of these sites like Dribble, Behance, ArtStation. Instagram is great. So you get to pick. Basically depends on what kind of audience you're interested in.
In terms of Instagram and Dribble, beyond yourself, which obviously I would highly recommend anyone following you on those platforms, is there any other 3D designers, illustrator that you think are doing a great job that you'd recommend looking at for someone who's earlier stage or kind of mid stage, because you think they're just doing really interesting stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely check the guys that I mentioned. Rayo has a great profile. He's posting daily a lot of great stuff. Um, and and I think his brand is called Morning Smoothie. That's the Instagram account. So go check it out. And yeah, from the designer community, I really recommend for the locally stuff and the stylized stuff. The Mohammed Kahin, I think he's called. His name is really great in terms of like locally designed stylized work. A lot of great works and clients. um, yeah, I would have to think about this a little bit. I follow a lot of guys online. There are a lot of great profiles, and basically, if you search Blender 3D or low poly or hard surface modeling or something like that, if you search those hashtags on Instagram, a lot of them will pop up, and you can get lost in that content a lot.
I'm sure it is super overwhelming on that. I see some folks in the chat who asked for me to repost that freebie link. I'll repost it again at the end. It's also, I posted it earlier in the chat to the top of the conversation, but I promise I'll repost it. Roman, for folks who watched today who wanted to get in touch with you, maybe they have a question about the course. Some folks asked, about getting your email or what's the best way to contact you. What would you recommend if someone had a question, either about what you covered today or wanted to ask you a question about the course? What's the best way of getting in contact?
Yeah, you can use email hello@polygonrunway.com, or DM always works. You can DM me on Instagram. I generally go through all the DMs and try to respond as much as possible. Maybe sometimes it can take like a day or two because there are a lot of them, but and over time it gets harder and harder. But I really try to respond to comments, direct messages, and stuff like that. So whatever platform you can find me on, if you direct mail me or direct message me or leave a comment, I will probably respond in time.
Thank you very much for that, Roman. For those who, I think I saw a question about the discount. That $80 discount, that's only available the next 7 days, just as a heads up. So that's not something Roman typically does. And we do appreciate you offering that discount, in conjunction with this workshop. Our audience appreciates it, so do the folks here. A few other things that I saw kind of in the questions I just wanted to bring up is there will be a replay available. So especially if you watch the Blender part and you wanted to go back and watch what Roman did, feel free to, you can absolutely rewatch this after. We're not taking it down. You can watch it slower, whatever makes sense for you. Let me see here. For everyone who's still with us, because I know we're getting to the hour, let's let Roman know in the chat we appreciated him. I appreciate you being here today. I learned quite a bit even watching this, because I actually had no concept around some of the things I could do in Blender. But let's let Roman know in the chat we appreciate him, and that this is a free workshop. So we appreciate taking the time in your evening to come do this. And with that, because I haven't seen any additional questions, Roman, do you have any last words of wisdom or last things you kind of want to talk about for the folks who joined us today?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate you having me here also. That's a hard one, I guess. Words of wisdom. Let me think. I don't know if I had to sum it up. It's all about like the commitment and consistency. Whatever you want to do, whatever is the reason you are here. You're probably a creative person. You want to learn something, or you want more followers, or you want this or that, or more clients. It all falls down to like commitment and consistency. If you're able to put out the content, make it better over time, and stay in the game longer than others, that you will probably find success, I would say. So yeah,
I think that applies far beyond 3D illustration to just life in general. So Roman, thank you again. We're going to sign off in just a few seconds, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. As Roman said, you could reach him at hello@polygonrunway.com. I posted that in the chat, and again on all of his social handles. So thank you, everyone. With that, we'll be signing off. Bye-bye.
Have a beautiful day, everyone.